Loving Eliza by Ruth and Nordin, Chapter 2. John tried not to stare at the new woman who had come into town. Eliza. That was her name. He wished he could say it, to feel the way the word would roll off his tongue. But that would never be. Still, he could see, and she certainly was beautiful. It was unfortunate she wasn't Daphne O'Connor. He didn't know what delayed Daphne. Perhaps Daphne had decided not to come when she found out that he was mute. He made sure that his brother, Aaron, added that when Aaron wrote the letter on his behalf. But her response came after that fact. She had said she was coming out here. Well, perhaps she had thought about it and changed her mind. He shifted Eliza's travel bag to his other hand as they walked down the street past the barber shop. She had argued with him about carrying it, but he saw no reason for a woman to do it if she didn't have to. He was briefly aware of the others who watched them. What is she doing with him? That was the question in their eyes, and for some reason, Eliza didn't seem to notice it. She merely chatted on about her trip from Omaha, how she had boarded the train, and how she had found a stagecoach. She went into surprising detail on the subject, but he didn't mind that she rambled. He liked the sound of her soprano voice. And she certainly had the prettiest hair color that he'd ever seen. He'd never seen anyone with red hair. It was vibrant. Gold highlights wove in and out of her strands that were pulled back into a braid that hung halfway down her back. Her skin was fair, evidence that she didn't spend a lot of time in the sun. She had dark brown eyes that had light brown tint around the pupils. Her lips were a lovely shade of pink. Then there was the rest of her. She was slender, but not so much that she forfeited her figure like some women had to. He noted the way her hips swayed from side to side as she walked. She was graceful in her movements. Then, when he lifted his gaze higher, his face grew warm when he looked at her chest. He had only seen a woman's bare chest once in his life, and that time had been an accident, one in which Mrs. Kramer got out of the tub and entered her parlor without realizing that he was there to deliver a chair that he had made for her husband. Her husband was as horrified as he'd been, and he had made sure to quickly avert his eyes, though the memory was seared into his mind forever. He still couldn't look that woman in the eye. Now, as he ventured to look at Eliza, he wondered what she would look like without clothes on. As quickly as the thought came, he forced it aside. She had not agreed to marry him. She had agreed to work for him. That was unfortunate for him. Maybe not for her. It was probably best for her. As soon as she met his brother Troy, she might decide that he was more to her liking. He already knew that Troy would like her, and Troy could talk and read and write. John considered making another plea with her to marry him, but decided that wouldn't be fair to her. Maybe she would want to marry Troy. If that was the case, he should not trick her into marrying him just to keep her around. Sighing, he returned his attention to what she was saying. "I guess this town is quaint," Eliza said, inspecting the row of flowers on the patch of grass lining the bank. "I don't recall seeing such pretty flowers all over the place. Omaha wasn't like that. It had more noise and dust rising up in the air because of all the people trafficking through with their horses. Have you ever been to a bigger town?" He shook his head. She frowned. "Then you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?" She shrugged. "It's just as well. You're not missing much. This town doesn't have a bar, does it?" He shook his head again. The mayor had done away with that establishment a year ago, though he couldn't tell her that. "That's just as well, too," she said. "Really, it's a good thing. Too many bad things happen in bars." She was right. He recalled the loud shootout that had happened between Abe and Cal. Their tombstones would forever be a monument to that terrible night. Again, this was knowledge that he could not give her. Someone who spoke would have to do that instead. He sighed again. He was being selfish and trying to keep her all to himself. He could return her to the general store. He didn't really need someone to help him. He managed fine on his own. But she was too appealing. Way too pretty. Way too friendly. And way too accepting of his handicap. She hadn't flinched when she learned that he was mute. She even talked to him as if he was a normal person. He liked that. No, he could not pass this opportunity by. His gaze drifted back to the church. If only. This is such a neat little flower, she said, breaking him out of his thoughts. She bent forward and touched the yellow petal in front of the white house. I won't take it, mind you. I just want to feel it. It's soft. And the color is my favorite. I love yellow. Do you know why? Well, of course he didn't. But to his amusement, she continued, as if he had spoken to her. Yellow is the color of hope, she said. He wondered if he had any yellow flowers on his land. If not, he could probably plant some. Maybe it would convince her to marry him. Then she would have to stay with him. She stood up. Which way is your home? He pointed to the 2 geldings attached to the wagon. He'd purposely parked it away from the heart of town. She would know why, and for once he was glad of it. Addie and Frank were nice to him. Some others were too, but not everyone was. He didn't care to stay around when he wasn't welcome. After they reached the wagon, he placed her travel bag in the back. Then he turned and waited for her to get in. Laughing, she shook her head. You obviously don't have any experience with women. I can't get on this thing without your help. Unless you want me to be unladylike about it. He blushed, wishing that he had paid more attention to the way other men interacted with women. His world had consisted mostly of objects and his brothers. He picked her up and hesitated. She was a light thing. Didn't she ever eat? But then he realized how nice she looked in his arms. He never held a woman before, so this was a pleasing experience. He wondered if there would be more chances like this. I meant that you could hold my hand to help me up, she whispered. Though this is the most chivalrous thing that anyone's ever done for me, so thank you. His eyebrows furrowed. What did chivalrous mean? It couldn't be bad if she was thanking him, right? Pushing the question aside, since there was no way he could ask it, he gently placed her up in the seat. She seemed like such a fragile thing, what with her slender frame and all. Yes, she definitely needed to eat more, and he would have to make sure that happened. When he hopped up on his side of the wagon, she picked up where she had left off on her talking. She named the flowers of the past, commenting on the flat landscape, and told him about some of the farmers that she had met over the years and what crops they had grown. Then she made guesses on the crops that lined their grassy path. She was right most of the time, though he shook his head on one that she'd gotten wrong. She didn't look offended when he corrected her. Everyone else did, but not her. She actually seemed pleased that her wrong thinking had been corrected. Yes, he thought, Eliza is not like anyone I've ever met. He liked that. He liked it a lot. She suddenly stopped talking and gave him a good look. You can't read. Do you recognize any letters? Not sure of her meaning, he shifted on the seat so he could pull the torn letter from his pocket and held it out to her. Oh no, I don't mean that kind of letter. I meant the letters of the alphabet. You know, ABC? He shook his head. All the words in the letter in his hand looked like a bunch of scribbling. When he was a child, he used to scribble the same markings down. Since he wasn't allowed to attend school, he never did figure out what those scribbles meant. Do you know what this letter says? She asked, taking the paper from him. He nodded. Someone read it to you, she guessed. He nodded again. And that's how you find out what things say, she guessed. He nodded. This time, she was the one who nodded. Then I suppose you have someone write the letters to her, too. Well, I think it's about time you learned how to read and write. I can teach you. He took his eyes off of the path so he could study her to see whether or not she meant it. Maybe she was humoring him, but she didn't laugh. She neatly folded the paper and put it in her purse. So she might be serious. If that was the case, he wanted to learn. We'll start tomorrow, she began. Today's been a long day. I hope you don't mind if I sleep. He hid his disappointment. He wanted her to stay up and keep talking to him, but he reasoned that for the time being, he would have to allow her a good night's rest. But not before she got something to eat. He tapped her on the arm to get her attention. She glanced his way. What is it? He motioned to his mouth. She shook her head. No, I'm not kissing you. You need to save that for your mail-order bride. Surprised, he stared at her for a moment and almost directed the horses off the path. He quickly steadied the wagon and tried another way to get his meaning across. He touched his mouth again and then patted his stomach. Her eyes grew wide. Oh, I thought, well, never mind. I understand. You want me to get something to eat before I go to sleep. Relieved, he nodded. Though it would have been nice to kiss her. If nothing else, it would satisfy his curiosity of what a kiss was like. He'd seen people kiss. They seemed to enjoy it. He had no doubt that he would like to share a kiss with her. She smiled. Do you often use motions with your hands to let people know what you want to say? Forcing his mind off of her rosy lips, he shrugged. Sometimes it was natural to use hand motions. To demonstrate, he pointed to a tree to the right and then pointed to the sky. The tree is tall. That's what you mean? She guessed. Grinning, he nodded. This is fun. Usually people dismissed his gestures. I used to play games like that, she said. We couldn't use any words. Well, this'll be like the same thing. He decided that he would take her word for it. He didn't exactly see it as a game, but maybe it would be that way with them. At least she was willing to take the time to pay attention to him and teach him how to read and write. Then, maybe when she realized that his mail-order bride had decided not to come after all, she might know him better and want to marry him. He heard that people use the term love at first sight, but he hadn't grasped the meaning until he had seen her get off the stagecoach. And with any luck, his brother Troy would stay away from his place while he set about the task of convincing her to marry him.